Well, good morning. This is a great day, an exciting day. We're here this morning to celebrate the opening of Delta's first concourse at LaGuardia. Before we begin, I would like to do a number of acknowledgments. I'd ask you to hold your applause until the end. With us today, Melinda Katz, Queensborough President, from the New York. All right, you have to learn to follow directions. From the New York Senate, Kevin Thomas. From the New York State Assembly, Eric DeLon, Amy Paulin, Daniel Rosenthal, Al Tyler, Claude Vanel, and David Weprin. We're also pleased to have with us today the chairman of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Kevin O'Toole, who is a true partner in moving things forward at the port. We also have George McDonald, Port Authority Commissioner. From Delta Airlines, we have Ed Bastian, CEO, Glenn Howenstein, President, Ryan Marzullo, and Patricia Orens, I have to call her Patty Orens, Managing Director. From the New York Mets, we're delighted to have Jeff Wilpon, General Manager Brody Van Wagenen, Noah Syndergaard, and Todd Zeal. Go Mets. From LaGuardia Gateway Partners, Stuart Steves, CEO, George Casey, Chair and CEO of Vantage Airport Group, and Magnus Eriksson, Executive Vice President of Skanska. Rick Blatstein, Founder and CEO of OTG Management. Kathy Wild, President and CEO, Partnership for New York City. From Labor, Thomas Callahan, IUOE Local 15, Joe D'Amato from the Laborers, Local 731, and Larry Engelstein from 32BJ. I'd like to particularly give a shout out and a big thank you to the Laborers Union who are here in force today, and to all of organized labor without whom this project would not be where it is today. And finally, a big thank you to the staff of the Port Authority. There are too many people to do justice to, but I want to call out in particular Huntley Lawrence and his colleagues from the Aviation Division, Jim Sterace and his colleagues from engineering, and Rich Smythe, project manager for the Port Authority for this entire project, and the Port Authority Police Department and all the operations staff who have worked so hard to keep the airport going while the construction project is underway. So a big round of applause. So we are here today to celebrate the opening of the first new Delta concourse as part of Governor Cuomo's vision for a whole new LaGuardia. And we are in the midst of building an entirely new LaGuardia Airport, the first totally new airport in the United States in 25 years. We're tearing down every single passenger building with the exception of the landmark Marine Air Terminal, and building a new state-of-the-art airport worthy of New York. We're also tearing down every square foot of the old roads, and we're building a wholly new roadway network. Earlier this year, J.D. Powers labeled LaGuardia the most extensive airport construction project currently underway anywhere. Now, my job here today is to describe briefly the new concourse and to put it in the context of the whole airport rebuild. But before I turn to that, I want to put this project in another context. We would not be here today without Governor Andrew Cuomo. Now, I didn't tell the governor I was going to tell this story, so I'm on a little bit of thin ice here. But sometimes that phrase of "we would not be here today" is said figuratively, but that's not the story here at LaGuardia. And I want to take a moment to tell the story and to remind everyone of how we got here. The Port Authority had originally proposed on an ad hoc basis to rebuild a single terminal and a new garage. But it was Governor Cuomo who asked, Where's the vision? Where's the master plan to build a world-class airport based on global best practices and global standards? Simple answer is that it did not exist. The governor acted. The governor appointed a blue ribbon airport advisory panel to develop a vision and a master plan. He named as chair of the panel Dan Tishman, an extraordinarily accomplished and experienced civic-minded builder and construction executive. He also named to the commission Borough President Melinda Katz, an inspired and dedicated elected official who represents the neighborhoods around the airport. He appointed Tony Collins, president of Clarkson University, then fresh from his role as chair of the City Design Commission, and Amanda Burden, fresh from her tenure as head of the City Planning Commission. He appointed Harvard professor Jose Gomez-Ibanez, nationally known expert in transportation and infrastructure, and he appointed the late John Zuccotti, longtime civic leader who held multiple government and civic leadership posts, too numerous to mention, and finally Jackie Snyder, also the former executive director of the City Design Commission. This was a high-powered expert group who responded promptly to the governor's request and produced a well-conceived vision and master plan for a world-class LaGuardia. Now, needless to say, the government was not about to have this plan sit on the shelf. So the government took two key steps. First, he intervened forcefully. I probably don't need that word. He intervened forcefully at the Port Authority to secure the adoption of the plan. And second, he placed a call to a senior executive at Delta. Now, Delta had a long-term lease on its terminals at LaGuardia. Delta did not have to participate in this project. The airline had every legal right to continue in its existing terminals. Now, I'll make two comments about that call. And I was in the room with the governor when he made it. First, the governor is a very persuasive individual. But second, and at least equally important, the Delta executive on the phone was made of the right stuff. He reciprocated with leadership and vision of his own. And ultimately, he led Delta and an extraordinarily talented Delta team to commit $3.4 billion to rebuild their terminal buildings from the ground up, while the Port Authority committed $600 million in additional infrastructure costs in and around the new Delta terminal. And between them, they agreed to build both projects on the east and west, and so was born the $8 billion rebuild of a whole new LaGuardia. And I would like to say, as a citizen of New York, Governor, thank you. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your leadership. We would not be here without it. So let's talk about the airport. Here is the footprint of the entire new airport. Note two things. First, every single building you see in the rendering is being built brand new from the ground up, and it will be a single integrated airport from west to east for the first time. Second, the entire integrated frontage of the new airport has moved forward, closer to the Grand Central Parkway. That allows the airport to add vastly expanded airplane taxiway space to reduce gate congestion. Now, this project is not only hugely ambitious in terms of its scope, we are also committed to getting it done as quickly as possible. We broke ground 3 years ago. Within 18 months, in February 2018, we opened LaGuardia's new West Garage, which is highlighted in red. 10 months ago, we celebrated the opening of the new LaGuardia's first new concourse, highlighted in red here, with 18 gates, world-class amenities, and 55-foot floor-to-ceiling windows that bathe the concourse in natural light. And we are grateful for the partnership of LaGuardia Gateway Partners for their work on Terminal B. Today, we are opening the first new Delta concourse at the new LaGuardia Airport, anchoring the far eastern end of the airport, as you can see on this rendering. This concourse, as you can see sitting in it, will be a stunning addition to the new LaGuardia, not only with world-class amenities with a New York flair, but also with iconic views of Citi Field and Flushing Bay. And you will hear more details on the new concourse in a moment from Ed Bastian. Of course, following today's opening, the new LaGuardia Airport will continue building at a remarkable pace. Next to open in the middle of next year will be the expansive Terminal B Arrivals and Departures Hall, highlighted on this slide. The Terminal B Arrivals and Departures Hall is the large building that you see most prominently under construction today from the Grand Central Parkway, and which you undoubtedly drove past if you were coming from the city. And shortly thereafter, the first new gates in Terminal B's second concourse will open. Now here you see what the fully completed Terminal B with its two island concourses at the western end of the airport will look like. But turning back to Delta's world-class Terminal C. Beyond this concourse, which is remarkable, Delta will now work to complete its own extraordinary new Arrivals and Departures Hall, along with 3 additional concourses. And even that is not the end of the story. We are building a brand new central hall linking Terminal B on the west and Delta's Terminal C on the east into a single unified airport. 2 air train stations, one serving the central hall and one serving the Delta terminal here on the eastern side of the airport, highlighted in red, will be the capstone of the brand new LaGuardia. The LaGuardia Air Train will provide a vital train-to-plane alternative that will get 6 to 10 million passengers out of their cars and off congested roadways. No longer will LaGuardia be the only major airport on the East Coast without a rail mass transit link. And last week, I'm pleased to say that the Port Authority's Board of Commissioners authorized $2 billion to provide full funding for the AirTrain project. The Port Authority's preferred alternative for the AirTrain will provide a reliable 30-minute trip from either Penn Station or from Grand Central once East Side access opens. At LaGuardia, this project is on an aggressive timeline with major milestones to celebrate virtually every 9 months. As I said at the beginning of my remarks, we would not be here today in the absence of the remarkable partnership that Governor Cuomo and Delta CEO Ed Bastian formed in that historic telephone call just a very few years ago. So now it is my pleasure to introduce the Port Authority's terrific partner on this project. He has been and is integral to building a whole new LaGuardia. That may be in part because he comes from New York, and we know that his heart is fully committed to New York. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce Delta CEO Ed Bastian.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's truly an honor to be here today. I do recall that phone call from the governor. Don't recall exactly how it went, exactly and all the details, probably details we can't share here today publicly, but it was a powerful conversation because it was about the vision, it was about the future, it was what the greatest city in the world deserves. Is a great front door and a great access way to bring the millions of people that we want to serve at Delta, as well as the unified LaGuardia Airport with all the airlines, bringing people to New York, and just like we're doing over at JFK, two of the very best airport complexes that this country has to offer. And today is a really proud day for Delta to be able to stand here opening the new Concourse G. And while you say that the governor and I were instrumental, and I agree that we both had that vision, this would also not have been possible without the great Delta people here that are present, because I want to call out Ginny Elliott, who runs LaGuardia. Ginny, where are you? So Ginny, can you stand? She's probably in the background somewhere. There you are. Ginny, thank you. Because I can remember 15 years ago where we had 4 gates here on the old Concourse D, 4 gates. And today, Delta is the largest airline at LaGuardia with 275 flights a day. This is also our 50th anniversary of serving LaGuardia. We started with 6 DC-9s back in 1969. And so it's fitting that we're opening up the new Concourse here. While it's only the first phase, you can get a sense for the spaciousness. That's I think what the word you'll use as you start to access the new facilities. The technology, the ability to bring a much better security process as people enter into the facility, all the great work that our partners, and we have many partners here today, thank you all for being here, because you're part of not just building this, but part of hosting it as we bring people through the new LaGuardia. And there will be 37 gates of access. And while this is just the start, there's 3 more fingers to follow. We look forward to, over the next 18 to 24 months, continuously, the governor says 18, I say 24 months, continuously building new access ways and new openings to LaGuardia. But again, I stand here telling you that we had to have customers, we had to have partners, and we had to have great Delta people that created this window of opportunity for us. And I'm just very, very proud of them. This is their day. And I just, to all of you throughout here, thank you for creating this. We could not do this without you. You wouldn't have brought the customers, we wouldn't have had the market share, we wouldn't have had the loyalty in this great city. And it was an easy conversation in retrospect that I could have with the governor to say, yes, I believe in the Delta people, I believe in the city, and I believe in the future of Delta and LaGuardia together. So with that, I'm going to stop here, and I'd like to bring my partner in crime up, our tenacious governor of New York, the Honorable Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I am just excited. I am just happy. You look around you and you understand why. As you heard, this was really the product of a collective of amazing people. And to begin with, Rick Cotton. Rick reminds me of the greats who served in public service and government and who really made New York what it is. And what Rick Cotton has accomplished will go down in the history books. And our children will read about Rick Cotton and what he did in government. And if anybody wonders about the honor and integrity of public service, especially at this ugly time, look at Rick Cotton. And he has changed the state of New York himself. Because you can have great ideas, but then they have to get done. And it is the getting done that matters. And that is Rick Cotton. Let's give him a round of applause. Chairman Kevin O'Toole, the chairman of the Port Authority. He's a New Jersey boy, but he is fair to New York, and he gets things done. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. To LaGuardia partners, who are the other half of the airport, who are doing a great job, and thank you very much, and thank you for all the accommodation. Let's give them a round of applause. To all the contractors who are doing the impossible, to the men and women of organized labor who are doing the impossible, to Skanska, to OTG that is bringing the greatest technology here, and New York products, because the best products are made in the state of New York, if you didn't know. Let's give them all a round of applause. To the Mets are not only neighbors, they have a special place in my life. I grew up just a little bit from what they called Shea Stadium, which you young guys can't even remember. And I would ride my bicycle to see the Mets. The Mets are the neighbor to this airport. It's going to be a great benefit for the Mets. It'll be much easier to get in and out. And during this construction, which was a feat and a half, the Mets were so helpful. And Jeff Wilpon was so accommodating. We needed their parking lots. We needed their space to move trucks back and forth. And in truth, Rick and I would take turns calling Jeff Wilpon and asking for a favor and we would alternate. I would say, I asked last week, you called this week, maybe he'll forget. But Jeff Wilpon never said no, and Brody Van Wagenen is here, and Noah Syndergaard is here. the Thor of the Mets. We had a quick conversation inside. I am also a pitching coach on the side. I don't know if you know that. And I pitched, coached Noah years ago, and I'm contemplating going back. And every time he throws a pitch, it does my heart good. Let's give him a round of applause and thank him very much for being here. And look, it's amazing. It's amazing because it was impossible to do this. It was impossible. Every engineer, every consultant, everyone told us it is impossible to rebuild LaGuardia Airport while you operate LaGuardia Airport. It was impossible. Why? LaGuardia is very small as airports go. It's about 680 acres. Denver Airport, the last new airport, 35,000 acres was Denver Airport. So you can't rebuild or build a new airport on this site and operate the site. That was just an impossibility. And Rick is right, more candid than I expected him to be this morning. But the first plan was we're going to rebuild one terminal and build a garage. And we talked about it and we went through it and we said, that's nice, build a terminal, build a garage. But that's not an airport. Let's build the full airport. And that's when we ran into, well, it's just impossible. And that was then the conversation with Ed Bastian. And I remember when I got off the phone, I said, I understand why this man is head of Delta Airlines, because this is a leader, this is a man with vision, this is a man with courage, and he stepped up to the plate in one phone call. He got the intelligence of what we were trying to do and the obvious wisdom of what we were trying to do. But then he had the character to say, I understand the obstacles, but we will overcome those obstacles. And that's the judge of a leader, in my opinion, and that's Ed Bastian. Let's give him a round of applause. So it was impossible to do. You could not build a new airport. It was impossible in the broader context. This country doesn't build airports anymore. Last new airport in the United States of America, 25 years ago. Think about that. Think about how damning a statement that is. 25 years we haven't built a new airport. And then we were saying, well, we're going to build the first new airport in 25 years, and we're going to do it on a site that they say is impossible. And we're going to continue to operate, and we're going to build, and we're going to get it done faster than ever before, and we're going to get it on time. And that was an impossible task. But as impossible as it was, is as necessary as it was. 2015, Joe Biden lands in LaGuardia and makes a statement. He said, LaGuardia, if you were blindfolded, you land in LaGuardia, they take off the blindfold, you think you're in a third world country. Oh, all the New York politicians condemned Joe Biden. How could he say that? He disparaged New York. All that New York bluster and macho came right up to the surface. How dare he insult our LaGuardia? They came to me and they said, well, do you want to attack Joe Biden for his insult on New York? I said, no, he was right. He was right. They could have phrased it a little differently, but he was right. We are better than what LaGuardia is. That is a true statement. And denial is not a life option. If you deny a problem, you will never solve it. So I basically said the vice president was right. Then all the New York politicians attacked me. Oh, he's now insulting New York and he's the governor. But it was the truth. It was the truth. LaGuardia, New York deserves better than what LaGuardia does. It was necessary. And it's also necessary if you want to continue to grow. We are in a competition. And the airports are the new front door. You don't build a new airport Europe will build a new airport. Asia will build a new airport. And they are, by the way. You fly into airports around the world, they're magnificent. You don't even have to leave the airport. You can land, you can shop, you can dine, you can have your business meeting, you can get back on the airplane and leave. We had an airport, you didn't even have a train from the airport to Manhattan. How can that be? New York International Commercial Center for the globe, and you have a second-class airport. It can't be. It can't be. We had to do it. And I'm governor of New York. I am the steward of the New York legacy. My father carried that legacy, God rest his soul, for 12 years. And I see myself as a steward of that legacy. And it's a very proud and it's a very powerful legacy. And it has that New York dynamic and that New York energy and that New York style and that New York chutzpah. How did we have LaGuardia in the first place? Fiorello LaGuardia, 80 years ago, lands in Newark Airport. This is not a Jersey slight or joke or anything. It's just a fact. He landed in Newark Airport. And Fiorello says, I'm not getting off the plane until it flies to New York. Now, I know how the Italian mind works a little bit. Fiorello knew there was no plane from Newark to New York because there was no New York airport. And that was his point, his way of making the point, New York needs an airport. We're not going to land in Newark and tell people, drive to New York. And it was a powerful way to make the point. You're coming to New York, why would you land in New Jersey? Again, no slight to New Jersey. And that started the construction of an airport, and that's LaGuardia Airport, and that's Fiorello LaGuardia Airport. But that was the New York spirit. Don't tell me we can't do it. So yes, this was impossible to build. That's what they said. It was impossible to build. By the way, everything we're doing is impossible. We just built a new Tappan Zee Bridge over the Hudson River, largest infrastructure project in the United States of America. They talked about it for 30 years. It was on the front page of the federal budget as the largest infrastructure project. It was impossible to do over the Hudson River. We did it on time, on budget. I named it the Mario Cuomo Bridge for my father. New Kosciuszko Bridge we just built. Impossible to operate a bridge and build a new bridge. We did it. New JFK we're rebuilding. New Penn Farley train station to finally get out of Penn Station after tormenting generations of commuters right across the street. We're doing it. Congestion pricing, which makes sense. They've talked about it for 20 years. They could never get it done. We got it done. Cashless tolling, we got it done. Rebuild the Long Island Railroad going out to Long Island, we got it done. An air train from this airport to New York City, impossible to do. We got it done. These were all impossible. But the only thing in life that is impossible is what you believe is impossible. The only thing that is impossible is what you believe is impossible. And the New York way is to never believe anything is impossible. The Brooklyn Bridge was impossible. The Empire State Building was impossible. The George Washington Bridge was impossible. 600 miles of subway system built with no hydraulics by hand and shovel under the city of New York was impossible. An aqueduct to bring water to New York City from the mid-Hudson Valley was impossible. These things were all impossible. But New York was the story of doing the impossible and overcoming and building that confidence and building that success. At a time in this nation where we are in many ways adrift and in many ways have lost our sense of confidence, and we are in a state of paralysis nationwide, what this project says and what New York says is, yes, we can do these things if you believe you can. We're building more than any state in the United States of America, period. And that is going to leave our children with a New York that is better, stronger, and more vibrant than the New York that we inherited, and that satisfies our responsibility as parents and citizens and stewards. But it's also a beautiful example to this nation. Stop arguing. Stop arguing. Stop playing politics. Get to work. Use what made America, America, and remember what made America, America. Doing the best, doing it first, doing it with American labor, with the working women and men of America, because there is nothing we can't do. And if you doubt our ability, if you think we've lost our mojo, just look to New York, and we'll light the way. Thank you, and God bless you.